There we were, Collins Cemetery in June 2006, just outside of Okeen, Oklahoma. I was 8 years old, gathered around my mom and dad with my siblings, throwing roses on my brother's casket as they lowered him into the ground, knowing it'd be the last time I'll ever see him, and not knowing how to adjust to him not being there, and thinking, how could this be real? Back to May 2006. Our family of 8 was happy, healthy, and together. It was my parents, my 2 older brothers, Eric and Patrick, sisters Danielle and Michaela, my twin brother Brandon, and myself. Our house was full and chaotic. There was always a game being played or a chore being done, and I never knew anything else. That summer, we were actually planning a vacation to San Antonio, and we were always talking about all the fun things we had planned before school started in August. The next month, June 2006, that dreaded day came. I still remember my parents rushing me, my younger sister Michaela, and my twin brother Brandon to my grandma's house. They had to get to Oklahoma City to meet my brother, and all we knew was that he was hurt, to the extent we didn't know, and my parents wouldn't figure out until they got there. When we got the phone call, the one where they told us that he wasn't coming home, Michaela, Brandon, and I were standing around my grandma in her kitchen around the phone at her house in Enid. She started crying, and as she told us, he's been shot in the head, he isn't coming home. She could hardly speak through the tears. I was numb, but I really didn't comprehend yet what had happened. The next few days were a blur. The visitations, the meals, and the mass amounts of family from all over coming in. Our world was in shambles, and it felt like we were just going through the motions, completely unsure of where to go and what to do next. On the day of his memorial service, I sat in the front row surrounded by my siblings, listening to our pastor lead the service. When it was over, the words that finally hit me and made it real that I had lost him were when my parents came to us and said, "You all need to go say goodbye one last time." My parents found themselves doing what no parent should ever have to do, grieving the loss of a child. They had to be strong for the 5 of us still here. When all of the events were done, and the family was gone, we found ourselves questioning, why him? We went on our vacation that summer, less than 3 weeks after his service. It was as fun as it could be, but the pictures say it all. We knew we were missing someone, and it just didn't feel right. Over the next few weeks, we went through a lot of counseling. I remember the Thursday night meetings every week. I always thought they were fun. I feel like I really didn't get why I was there sometimes. I knew my brother was gone, but did I really understand what that meant? For the next year, we stayed in the same house. The same house where he would watch TV downstairs while we tried to sleep, and the same house where we'd all clean up after supper together. Except those things weren't happening anymore, and his bedroom was empty. At first, it was healing. It helped us to be where he was last. But we realized we needed a fresh start. We had to move on to somewhere he had never been, and where there weren't reminders of him everywhere we looked. We moved into a new house, and slowly we were able to start putting the pieces back together. It felt more normal being in a house he had never been in, and driving cars he had never ridden in. We didn't forget about him, but our routines now had never involved him, and it made it easier to move on. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes our house of cards we tried to rebuild would fall. We would see something that would remind us of him and we'd have to start all over. But soon we could rebuild our fortress, and with each other's help, we began to see the relief of the new normal. My parents are the strongest humans I know. While going through hell, they kept their marriage and family intact, and at the end of it, they rebuilt our family stronger and closer than before. We knew what it was like to lose a sibling, and the thought of losing another was unimaginable. We realized the value of family through it all, and that when the seas get rough, they're the safe harbor to keep you safe through the storm. Without that safe harbor, we'd have been lost to the sea, just another family torn apart by a tragedy. Death is hard, and grief is even harder, but with a strong family, you can make it through anything. I promise.